Hello, YouTube family. I've been away for 3 weeks. First, I went to see my brother, and then I went to a conference sponsored by the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America. Yes, that's difficult to say. After that, we all went on a cruise, some 100 of us, from the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America. Yes, and then I stayed with my sister-in-law for a week, so that's a total of 3 weeks. I made it back in time for Easter. So here it is, Wednesday, and I've put away a lot of my clothes, but not all, because I took out summer clothes for the trip, and I did not store away the winter clothes. So that's a big task I have to complete before the end of the week. So let me begin by saying I really enjoyed my time away. I enjoyed spending 5 days with my brother. He's one of 5 brothers, and he's the probably, how do I say this? One of my best buddies when I was growing up. We thought a lot alike. But now at 60, where he is never married nor settled down with anyone but pets, I can see that we are far different people. I really enjoyed spending time with Brian because he has such a way about him that you don't get to see or just hear when he calls. In fact, Brian often calls when he's had too much to drink. So the conversations really never go well. And this time, we had one little bitty issue, but that was because, well, he was all set for food, but there wasn't any food in his refrigerator for me to eat. So I just needed to know that, and I needed to know that that I could go off and get groceries, and I'd be all set. Because all he had was bologna and cheese, and I don't eat sandwiches. Okay, so that was the little minor sort of, he didn't understand me and I didn't understand him, and that was not even 5 minutes, because he was suggesting I go to a restaurant, and I was saying, I'll wait for you to complete the tasks you have before you, even if it's an hour. I'll wait. But he didn't want me to buy him supper. So I was fine. I went and got groceries, and later on that week I made him my famous chicken divan, which he loved. And I took him grocery shopping. He bought a lot of processed foods, but I was going to be gone, and this is how he eats. So anyways, that doesn't sum up the whole week, 5 days, but it does let you know a little bit about my feelings, how we had grown so differently, and in fact, with his sort of jack-of-all-trades ability, where he had been in 2 circuses, the Great American and the Big Apple Circus, so he traveled and he was gone from our lives. In fact, there were quite a few years that my mom would call and say, "Where's Brian?" And I would say, "I don't have any clue. I don't know." And he'd call, but I didn't get the information because he had been drinking. So he would call when friends died, or that's when he called. He just called when there was an emotional issue, and he'd be drunk. So, but there were years that we didn't know where he was, because he he has this ability to go off and work and not need people. He needs people. He's very friendly. He has buddies. He has friends. He's lost a lot of buddies in the last few years. In fact, the last few months, he has lost friends. So that's hard for him. But while I was there, I got to see that different side of him, the side that I didn't know. I remember he visited us when we lived in Maynard. We lived in Maynard for 14, almost 15 years. And he came in with a dog named Sheba, and she'll look like a little miniature collie. Beautiful little dog. So when I saw him this time, he had 2 other dogs and 3 cats. Sheba had died, and within the first week or so, a friend found this dog on the highway, rescued this dog that might have been hit on the highway. And now Lucky, Brian named the dog Lucky, is 98 years in people lives. And he also has a dog he calls Precious Lily. Her owner was moving away from the RV resort where Brian worked and did not want to take the dog. Brian was known as somebody that really loved animals and cared for animals. Brian was given a squirrel that had fallen from a tree once and raised the squirrel. I saw pictures of squirrels and parrots that flew down and lived with Brian for years, and of course the 3 cats. I have to tell you about the 3 cats. Chipper was a gray cat. Lefty was a black cat with a bent left foot. Something had happened to the paw. And Hobo, a bigger black male cat, came in and came right up to me. These cats came to me. Why? Because of the family resemblance, or did they know that I love animals, even though we don't have animals anymore? So Brian fed his dogs and his cats at 7 at night. The dogs were in the house. They went out at various times, but the dogs were in the house, and the cats started coming back one at a time to be there for 7. Quite unusual, don't you think? Hobo didn't show up till 7:45 a couple of nights, but he knew he could come and find food. Brian set the food out at 7 every night. This is what I learned about Brian. He's compassionate. He cares for people and animals. More than just the parrot that I talked about briefly and the squirrel. He showed me pictures of all sorts of animals and told me about times that I didn't know. The times where he was in the Big Apple Circus and the elephant that went rogue, that had to be killed, he used to feed it candied apples at the end of the night. He'd buy some candy apples and toss it to the elephant. Or the elephant that he'd toss a can of Coke to it would crush and suck the Coke down. Okay, I didn't know that of elephants. He didn't get close. He tossed these. He didn't get close. He wasn't the elephant trainer. He was sort of a jack of all trades there. He made things like the stands. That he fixed things. He repaired things. He helped put up the tents. He wasn't the tiger trainer or the elephant trainer, but he was around animals and he cared for animals. One of his other jobs was as a rider in a long-haul truck. He'd help the man unload the furniture and go on another long-distance haul. And he was out at Mount St. Helens after the volcano exploded and sent pictures. He was in California. He was in Florida. He was all over the country. I've had so many postcards from him. And he settled, the last job he had was at a RV resort where you can't live around the whole year. You have to go for 3 or 4 months. I forget what he said, but like I said, some of the people abandoned their pets and Brian took them in. The 3 feral cats he has now, he found them at the resort. He brought them to a vet to be spayed, and they stayed. They stayed with Brian. He took them in. And he's not working there. There was an accident a few years ago where he's putting gas in one of those golf carts that they use at resorts and in the villages, and you see them all over the highways in Florida. The seat had fallen forward, pressed the accelerator, and the rear tire ran over his ankle while he was filling it with gas. So he's got pins in his ankles. He doesn't walk as much. But we had a great time together because we went to a circus museum for the Ringling Brothers, and we went to a classic car display museum, and we had a great time. Great memories. I'm glad I spent 5 days with my brother, the brother that I learned about when I was in 2nd grade. I was 6 years old, and I was sitting doing some work in my classroom, and my teacher came over and said, "The principal wants to see you." And I'm sure that walk only took me a minute, but all that time I was thinking, what did I do wrong? Because back then, 60 years ago, back then, if you went to see the principal, you did something wrong. You didn't talk to the principal. My granddaughter says, I talk to the principal every day. Well, she's on the principal's A list. She gets an A every year, every class, every day. But I was thinking, what did I do wrong? And my dad had called the school and told the principal that I had a new baby brother. He was number 4. Why is this the memory I have of Brian? I first saw Brian later on that day, and he's forever been in my heart. Well, that's only the first part of my 3 weeks away. I love you, Brian. From the first time I heard about you, when I knew that I had not done anything wrong, and you came to brighten my life. Bye-bye, YouTube. I need to make another video, because that was only the first 5 days.